Happy Wednesday, everyone. Well, not if you're Whoopi Goldberg, a.k.a. Karen Johnson. Yeah, who knew Whoopi was a Karen? I thought that was only for white people, like Toyota Priuses and skiing. Roll it, Francis.
Good morning and welcome to The View. You all saw the news. Whoopi will be back here in 2 weeks. Okay?
It's so cute when one of their side gets punished. They sulk like they...
Whoopi Goldberg just had a meltdown so dramatic it could pass for a made-for-TV movie. Cue the slow piano music, long pauses, and exaggerated outrage. What set it off? Greg Gutfeld. He roasted her so thoroughly that her confidence practically vanished on live television. If you thought daytime TV was already chaotic, buckle up. This was Goldberg unraveling faster than one of her punchlines. What followed wasn't just a bad moment, it was a full collapse. And trust me, this takedown was messier than a Real Housewives reunion caught in the middle of a hurricane.
I had Whoopi for 2 weeks because she said the Holocaust had nothing to do with race. She said this on a show called The View, which makes everything about race. Except now.
The Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race.
It is.
It's
about a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah, that's heroically...
Whoopi's latest outburst makes toddler tantrums look like a mindfulness seminar. One moment she's lecturing the audience from her faux leather throne on The View. The next, she's unraveling like a cheap sweater tossed into a spin cycle. What set it off? Greg Gutfeld, the Fox News spark plug, who swings sarcasm like a flamethrower in a fire...
Otherwise known as Hell's DMV. Whoopi Goldberg asked how much different are the values of the Trump administration from the Taliban.
We have a leader who has repeatedly demeaned women, wants to defund organizations that benefit women, calling on the media to shut up, specifically wants to give preferential...
Let's be real. This meltdown didn't come out of nowhere. Goldberg has been drifting toward this public crash for a while now, like it was a luxury meltdown tour with scheduled stops. The View, once known for lively debate, has morphed into a chaotic group chat where 5 malfunctioning Siri bots argue over who's the most morally superior. And right at the center of it all is Goldberg, shaking a tambourine of outrage, mistaking volume for facts.
Talk about groundbreaking to actually hear a celebrity say something mean about the Taliban. How dare they compare them to Trump? The Taliban should sue. Guess they ran out of Hitler analogies. So as they bash the president, I'm reminded how entertainers rarely express any rage over any strand of misogynist Islamism. If they did, we might take their rage toward Trump seriously. A reminder, the Taliban throw acid in girls' faces for going to school. Yeah, I guess that's like defunding Planned Parenthood. Radical Islam is all for killing gays, and I guess that's the same as making some rude jokes. No, Trump's past rudeness is a product of a rude culture, one fed and fattened by a coarse entertainment...
Now imagine her horror. Greg, smirking and fully armed with satire, finally fired back. His clapback was so sharp it echoed beyond Fox News and landed squarely on Goldberg's ego. Her response? A meltdown as fragile as a soggy tissue, dramatic gasps, exaggerated eye rolls, and that familiar look of disbelief that someone would dare roast the self-appointed queen of daytime television.
Which means The View is very unhappy.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Let's be clear, this wasn't a simple roast. Greg didn't just embarrass Goldberg. He dismantled her talking points with surgical precision, while she rambled through whatever cause was trending in her carefully curated echo chamber. He exposed the holes in her logic one by one, and instead of responding with facts or reason, Goldberg went straight to her default setting, flailing. This is someone who's turned emotional grandstanding into an Olympic sport, always ready to play the victim on cue, like a magician pulling the same tired trick from her sleeve. But don't mistake this meltdown for real vulnerability. It was pure performance, the kind The View has perfected. What was once billed as debate has turned into a petri dish of ideological conformity, where real discussion goes to die. Slow, jittery, and over-caffeinated. The hosts don't challenge each other. They nod and sink like polished bobbleheads, terrified of stepping out of line. Every episode becomes a contest to deliver the most extreme take with the most smug confidence. And Goldberg? She's the reigning champion, serving lukewarm hot takes with the certainty of someone who skimmed a headline weeks ago and now acts like she's drafting policy for the
But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sonny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter. So instead, let's check out this clip from Monday's episode of The View when the ladies put their science caps on and discuss the...
The moment anyone dares to break from the groupthink, they're shouted down, gaslit, or, if they're a guest, politely erased by a sudden commercial break. It's less a talk show and more a live-action Twitter MOBSO when Greg entered the conversation, figuratively speaking. He wasn't just tossing shade. He lobbed truth grenades into a set built entirely on feelings, calling out what viewers have suspected for years. The sanctimony on The View is so thick it might as well be listed as a co-host, Goldberg, caught mid-monologue, looked like someone who accidentally wandered into a logic seminar. Her reaction was a performance in stages. First came the glare that screamed, "How dare you question me?" Then the heavy sigh, as if the weight of the world had suddenly settled between her designer brooch and oversized moral compass. And finally, the meltdown, an unfiltered swirl of pseudo-intellectual rambling, vague historical name drops, and something best described as emotional interpretive dance. You could practically hear the producers scrambling for a commercial break, because nothing spells daytime TV disaster quite like a host trying to look virtuous, stay composed, and shout half-formed takes about topics she barely understands.
The rapture is here. The rapture's here, and then also I learned that the cicadas are coming. Cicadas.
Although I love
for the first time in like
no,
100 years, for the first time in many, many years.
No, every 17 years this happens.
Well, that's not what I read, but maybe maybe you know better. All those things together would maybe lead one to believe that either climate change exists, or something is returning.
Earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground.
No, it happens, and the eclipse. They've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen.
Amazing. Wow. That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years.
Greg didn't even have to try. All he did was hold up a mirror. And what did it reflect? A show powered by outrage instead of insight. A host who mistakes volume for credibility. And a panel so allergic to dissent they panic the moment a conservative opinion lasts longer than 10 seconds. Greg didn't just roast Goldberg. He exposed how hollow the entire setup really is. His satire sliced clean through the fog of self-importance hanging over The View like a bad odor no one wants to acknowledge. While Whoopi scrambled for a comeback, her co-hosts nodded in perfect sync, like backup singers in a cult-themed musical. And this wasn't just a solo meltdown. It was a full group collapse. Every time Goldberg flailed, the others leaned in with supportive murmurs and wide-eyed expressions that screamed, "We were not prepared for this." Joy Behar looked like she'd just discovered gravity. Sonny Hostin served up a word salad, so confused it nearly made the dictionary file a complaint. Together, they executed the classic circle the wagons routine, turning a moment of criticism into a group therapy session where accountability is forbidden and feelings make the rules. Greg's takedown wasn't treated as critique. It was reframed as an attack on all women, all hosts, and apparently anyone who's ever owned a coffee mug with an inspirational quote.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sonny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in sunny Austin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of...
But here's the twist. No one outside that studio was buying it. The internet exploded like a Christmas tree, wired by a Red Bull-fueled elf. Memes everywhere. Reaction videos. Sarcastic TikToks on repeat. It was open season. Whoopi's meltdown was instantly clipped, slowed down, remixed, and replayed with dramatic violin music, like a daytime soap gone wrong. And what made it worse? This wasn't a one-time slip. It was just the latest entry in a long highlight reel of classic Goldberg moments. Those glorious scenes where confidence collides headfirst with actual pushback. Every time, she reacts like it's the first disagreement she's encountered since 1993. At this point, it's almost impressive how consistently wrong someone can be while staying defiantly loud about it. The audience has perfected the art of confident cluelessness. Watching it feels like joining a book club where nobody reads the book, but everyone delivers a TED Talk on the cover. And here's the real kicker. Greg didn't even insult her personally. He challenged her ideas. That's it. But in Whoopi's magical kingdom, disagreement is treated as blasphemy. Why engage in reasoned debate when you can spiral into melodrama, claim victimhood, and float straight up to the moral high ground?
Lose bowels should make voters throw in the towels. Goldberg's rational so weak she doesn't care if Biden can't speak. Yes, it's a magical land where little Debbies make big bellies and brain cells go to die. This week on The View, Whoopi doubled down on her support of Joe Biden's re-election. No surprise. But it was her peculiar poo-powered prose that piqued my potty predilection. Roll it!
I don't care if he's pooped his pants. I don't care if he can't put...
While Greg walked away from the clash like a guy who just won an argument with a GPS. No victory lap. No grand speech. He shrugged, tossed out another joke, and disappeared back into whatever vampire lair he retreats to when he's not exposing televised nonsense. And honestly, that's what made it sting even more. Whoopi showed up with emotional fireworks to a logic fight and lost. While she tried to bend reality using facial expressions and dramatic sighs, Greg stuck to the most dangerous weapon of all, plain old common sense. By the end of the segment, Goldberg looked deflated, like the confidence had leaked out somewhere between the outrage and the eye rolls. The smug certainty was gone, replaced by that uneasy look of someone who might, just maybe, have to rethink something. Tragic, really. But don't worry. By the next episode, she was back in peak form. Any trace of reflection had been swapped out for righteous indignation and a carefully rehearsed monologue about how anyone who disagrees with her is morally bankrupt. That's how The View survives. Not by learning, not by growing, but by endlessly circling the same emotional drain and calling it discussion. So what's the takeaway from this whole melodrama? Simple. Even the loudest, most self-important voices crumble when they're hit with the lightest breeze of actual critique.
And in fact, she'll stand right behind him. Not only does she have a terrible case of Trump derangement, she also has no sense of smell or a really weird fetish. And I'm not one to kink shame, to each his own. I guess you just got tired of Joy's crap. Kat, you know what was the most interesting thing about this was the audience reaction. Like when she started talking about poop being everywhere, the audience was like frozen. They were like, what is going on here? Whoopi has a poop problem.
What does she mean she has poopy days?
Public meltdowns are almost guaranteed when your entire persona depends on never being challenged. And Greg, love him or hate him, has no problem walking straight into the hornet's nest and poking it. Maybe next time, Whoopi could try stepping outside the bubble instead of collapsing inside it. Break free from the smug certainty. Let go of the idea that her opinions are sacred artifacts. But let's be honest, where's the fun in that? Without The View and its endless parade of confident confusion, where else would people go to feel better about their own ability to think clearly? So, thanks for the laughs, Whoopi. Even the breakdowns are comedy gold, while she delivers emotional TED Talks with the urgency of someone who just discovered Wikipedia. Greg is over on Fox doing what he does best, telling jokes. Imagine that. Humor mixed with political commentary. Truly revolutionary, they asked The View drowns in its own moral outrage. Greg runs nightly stand-up disguised as a news show, and somehow manages to make more sense than 5 hosts talking over each other like caffeinated parrots trapped in a wind tunnel. His secret weapon isn't outrage. It's laughter. Not canned. Not staged. Real, sharp, unavoidable laughter. And that's why it lands.
She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is...
He doesn't need 5 co-hosts nodding like dashboard bobbleheads to validate his opinions. He doesn't weaponize victimhood or collapse on camera like a soap actress gunning for a daytime Emmy. He dismantles hypocrisy with a single line sharper than Joy Behar's haircut, and it lands because humor makes truth digestible, even when it stings. Meanwhile, The View treats every disagreement like a hate crime. Say something they don't like, and suddenly you're the villain in a 4-part Netflix documentary. Dialogue. Forget it. They're here for claptrap, the smug mix of applause and self-congratulation that kicks in when someone dares to say, "I don't like Trump." Groundbreaking. Quick, alert the Pulitzer Committee. Gutfeld thrives in that tension. He mocks both sides when it's needed because he knows the line between comedy and commentary is where real influence lies. That's why his audience keeps growing while The View audience ages out like expired yogurt. Younger viewers aren't looking for finger-wagging lectures. They want sarcasm served with a side of truth.
Thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by The View's gravitational pull. All right, Kat, did you ever see such a group? It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring.
And let's talk numbers, because while The View thrives on feelings, ratings don't lie. And the numbers? Brutal. Cold. Hard. The internet roast came next, and for Greg, the comment sections were basically a standing ovation. This wasn't just a win, it was a landslide. While Whoopi clutched her pearls, Gutfeld casually claimed the comedy crown, mic in hand. 0 apologies given. The empire of ego tried to strike back, but spoiler alert, no one cared. The rest of the View squadron of indignation followed suit. Sunny unleashed her signature passive-aggressive eye roll, the kind that could curdle milk. Ana Navarro made dramatic throat noises like she was auditioning for a telenovela. And Joy Behar blinked rapidly, muttering something vaguely furious, though, to be fair, that's just her factory setting. They'll recover eventually. But for now, let's pause and give a sarcastic round of applause. Because without The View, we'd never fully grasp what happens when privilege, delusion, and overconfidence get a daily time slot and a live studio audience. Their unintentional comedy is a national treasure, scripted not by writers, but by pure, unfiltered hubris. And Whoopi, if her ego got any bigger, it'd apply for a SAG card and start hosting the show solo. Bravo to them.